Recording now.
Hello everyone, I wish you a good day, a good afternoon and a good evening. Welcome to the spUN Virtual Debates 2021 Tournament Room 4. Our host in this session is Fred Becker, who will be managing the technical aspects of our match. Judge Jim Plaxco is the president of Chicago Society for Space Studies. He is a former vice president and director of the National Space Society. Judge Reshma Abraham attends Boston College, currently studying biology and sociology with a minor in international relations. She was a Lincoln Douglas debater throughout high school and served as team president. She has been a state runner-up in Massachusetts and qualified to the NSDA National Tournament as well as the NCFL Nationals. Welcome to the debate, judges. Judges, please remain in the Zoom room after the end of the debate for reporting purposes. Okay. And I am the moderator and facilitator for Room 4, and my name is Samir. I would like to read the following statement to you. The winning team is chosen based on their skill and effort, not on any preset NSS position. NSS clearly believes that humanity should continue to explore, develop, and settle space. How to that goal? It is important that space advocates understand and be able to express the anti-space case. No statement by any debater or coach is an official position of NSS. Okay, so let's meet our debaters. Team Jiauquan, please give us your names and the country you're representing.
Hello everyone, I am Yuan Zhi from Team Jiauquan. I am a Chinese student from Beihang Experimental School.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tudor Costa, and I represent Romania in NSS spUN debates.
Hello everyone, my name is Radu Morarashu, and I'm the third speaker of Team Jiauquan, again from Romania, as Tudor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Narda Galvez. I'm from Lima, Peru.
Team Alcantara, please give us your name and the country you're representing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Borcman Bucur Andrei, and I'm from Brasov, Romania.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Chupala, and I'm from Romania as well.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniela, and I'm from Peru.
If anyone has a question, please raise your hand in the participants icon on your screen. Please mute your mic unless you're speaking, and the only presenting team and judges should turn on their videos unless directed by the moderator. Here is the format for our debates today. Half 1 will be followed by Neg 1, who will each give the introduction of their team, key definitions, and an overview of the arguments in a 3-minute allotment. Half 2 will have 3 minutes to give the first part of their team's argument. A silent time of 1 minute will be observed. Neg 2 will have 6 minutes to give the first part of their team's argument and respond to AF 2's arguments. A silent time of 1 minute will then be observed before AF 2 will use 3 minutes to respond to the negative arguments. A cross-examination begins for 4 minutes, in which AF 1 and 2 begin the questions for Neg 1 and 2, who may respond to points or ask questions of their opponents during the 4-minute session. If AF 2 has no questions, Neg may begin the questioning session. The second part of our debate starts with AF 3 offering the rest of the team's argument. A silent time of 1 minute will be observed. Neg 3 will do the same and respond to the arguments of AF 3 and will have 6 minutes. Again, a silent time of 1 minute will be observed. Finally, AF 3 will have a 3-minute opportunity to respond to Neg 3's arguments. A cross-examination between AF 3 and 4 and Neg 3 and 4, with Neg beginning the questions. In the second cross-ex, AF 3 and 4 may also pose a question of Neg 3 and 4 during the 4-minute session. After this, a silent time of 2 minutes will be observed. Now the debate positions will be summarized, starting with AF 4, who will have 4 minutes to deliver their summary and concluding statements, followed by Neg 4, who will do the same. The judges will adjourn to their break rooms for their conference with an 8-minute allotment. They may return early if they wish, and we hope so they will. The judges will then announce the winners and offer tips on proceedings in the tournament. All right. Mr. Becker, do we have only the judges and affirmative team with the live videos and mics? All right. Let's get started. We'll hear from the first speaker from Team Jiauquan, representing the affirmative position for the resolution space traffic management should be regulated by the UN Security Council. Team Jiauquan, your first speaker may begin your affirmative intro. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, host. As we begin this debate, it is important that our judges and our opponents understand what our fundamental position is, and why we are defending it. In some way, are resolved that all future space traffic management should be relayed by the UN Security Council. In order to best evaluate our position, we would like to share with you what our advocate means in order to ensure that there are no confusions. As the affirmative, we have an application to define the words of the resolution as we have to defend in the resolution. All other interpretations should be rejected, and ours should be referred as we refer to primary source material from the real life researches. Space traffic management is the define of the IAA as the set of technological and regarding promotion for promoting safe access into our outer space, operating in outer space and return from outer space to Earth free from physical or radio frequency. Regarded in this context means to be voted on, managed, and discussed by the UN Security Council. According to this founding document, the UN Security Council is the Security Council of primary responsibility of all nations. It has 15 members, and each members have one vote. Under this is all the countries, and they will obey the council decisions. In Security Council takes land in determining the extent of a threat to space or act aggressions is called upon the parties of the parties to a dispute to settle it by peaceful means and recommends methods of judgment or terms of settlement. In some cases, the Security Council can resort to imposition sanctions or even authorities and use the force to maintain or restore international.
Speaker Neg 1 from Team Alcantara, please give your 3-minute intro.
Okay, respected jury, coaches, and my fellow mates, very good morning, afternoon, evening to one and all present here. My name is Daniela, and I will be the first speaker from Team Alcantara. The second speaker, Andre, will present to you an argument about the disadvantages the UN Security Council brings and why we strongly believe they should not be responsible for the regulations of space traffic management. After that, Maria will talk about approach alternative and showing why it is more respectful and better than the UN Security Council, thus achieving universalization. In the end, Andre will summarize the debate, make the final statements, and conclude why we think the UN Security Council should definitely not regulate space traffic management, being in contradiction with universalization. As you probably already know, according to Andrew J. Dilk in Journal of Air and Law Commerce, space traffic is currently managed and regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration. The definition given by the International Academy of Astronautics is for space traffic management is STM is the set of technical and regulatory provisions for promoting safe access into outer space, operations in outer space, and return from outer space to Earth, free from physical or radio frequency interference. The most important aspects of space traffic are the launch of specific vehicles, the orbits of satellites, and the most important one, space debris. Besides that, space traffic management also refers to the purposes of the space missions, and if they are critical or not, as they could represent malicious plans. According to the UN organization, the United Nations Security Council's tasks are international peace and security maintenance, human rights protection and sustainable development support, and climate action. Thus, we understand the resolution as the UN Security Council, who is responsible with international peace, security maintenance, human rights protection, sustainable development, and climate action, should regulate a safe access and operation into outer space, the launches of space vehicles, the orbits of satellites, space debris, and investigate the role of each mission. So at the end, from the given resolution, we understand that the whole concept of space traffic management should be fully controlled by the UN Security Council. So, for our team's argument in the negative role, we will demonstrate to you why the UN Security Council shouldn't definitely regulate space traffic management. Next, after the affirmative team gives the introduction and their arguments, Andre will present you the first argument. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from AF2 from Team Jiauquan for your beginning 3-minute arguments.
Dear judges, audience, and beloved participants, my name is Jiauquan and I'll be the second speaker for Team Jiauquan. As Dr. Lorna Jean Edmonds from Ohio University and Dr. Ted Hewitt from Western University have articulated in the 21st century of universalization. We are moving away from an era of globalization to an era of universalization. In this way, we are seeing a societal transmission to the world knowledge economy. Established, emerging, and developing countries are becoming a part of a global agenda. Globalization is impacting the climate, health, energy, wealth, water distribution, food security, industry, and governments. But we are one within a universe. We must approach problems from a universal perspective rather than an Earth-centric perspective in order to resolve the division that prevent future progress and harmony. Space is our key to this. Space is in the classroom and as a future profession. Speaking to a Canadian audience, Cole Chris Hadfield remarked that commanding a spaceship is no longer just a wild little kid's dream, but actually something that Canadians do. There are corporate and governmental interests in space, and no nation can lead the way. This is why we need the United Nations to lead on this issue, particularly the Security Council. Indeed, as we continue to fail to control the changes to the climate we have made on this planet, we must, as a species, plan to go into the galaxy. We have already seen the danger that unregulated space traffic management will have on our exploration and development in the universe. On May 31st, 2021, just 10 days ago, the International Space Station was hit and severely damaged by space debris. As Michelle Starr for Science Alert reported, the inevitable has occurred. A piece of space debris too small to be tracked has hit and damaged part of the ISS, namely the Candarm-2 robotic arm. The instrument is still operational, but the object punctured the thermal blanket and damaged the boom bayonet. It's a sobering reminder that the low Earth's orbit space junk problem is a ticking time bomb. Obviously, space agencies around the world are aware of the space debris problem. Over 23,000 pieces are being tracked in low Earth orbit to help satellites in the ISS avoid collisions, but they're all about the size of a softball or larger. Although the ISS seems to have gotten lucky this time, the space debris problem doesn't seem to increase. Last year, the ISS had to perform emergency maneuvers 3 times in order to avoid collisions with space debris at its altitude of around 250 miles. Ever since the launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957, space debris has been accumulating. According to a report from European Space Agency, an estimated 130 million fragments of anthropogenic material smaller than a millimeter are orbiting Earth right now. The estimate does not include natural space dust. Both space agencies will continue to gather data in order to perform an analysis of the event, both to understand how it occurred and to assess future risk. Anything below that size is too small to track, but traveling at orbital velocities can still do some significant damage. Space debris has hit and damaged the ISS, https://sciencealert.com. If we do not take the most serious approach with the most serious spacefaring nations at the leadership helm, then we'll be trapped on Earth forever, as climate disaster leads to human disaster, war, starvation, and darkness.
You
And
have your
eventually,
3-minute allotment.
for the sake of space, for the sake of our Earth, all hands are on the deck. Universalization allows us the ability to put the puzzle together as a species. The next generation is no longer on global issues, but in this century, they are universal ones and must be approached through universal methods. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll have a silent break for 1 minute and then we'll proceed. Nick 2 from Team Alcantara, please give your beginning arguments and respond to AF2 in your 6-minute allotment.
Hello, everybody. My name is Borkuman Bukurandre, and today I'm going to be the second speaker of Team Alcantara. I will tell you what, the first argument about why we think that the UN Security Council shouldn't definitely regulate ASTM, and then make a rebuttal of the other team arguments. As Daniela, my colleague, has already presented in the first speech, the United Nations deal with businesses in multiple subjects, not just space. According to UN.org, their task also includes rights protection and climate action. Is regulating STM something that has a considerable effect on climate change? No, it isn't. I know astronauts are also humans and that they have rights, but space traffic management requires more than that. Yes, it has to do with peace and security maintenance between countries that participate in space projects, but it has nothing to do with space vehicle launches, the satellite's orbits, and space debris, the main characteristics of STM. This is why the UN Security Council is not capable of regulating STM, something that goes against the whole concept of universalization, since it is disrespectful and unprofessional to let someone do a job for which they're not certified. You may say space traffic needs to be improved, something that has been already done and is still in progress, like things on Earth are. Aren't the laws still changing? Isn't technology evolving? Things are being permanently updated. We tend to learn out of our mistakes. The space industry is something that got better with the time, and it still gets. According to encyclopedia.com, the Federal Aviation Act from 1958 empowered the Federal Aviation Administration to manage the space traffic. Since then, things have improved a lot. Since 2009, for example, there have been little to non-space vehicle collusion. What makes you think that the UN Security Council can be substantially better than the FAA? According to an article published on UN.org, just listen carefully to this, please. Lebanon deviates from UN regulations. The claim is accurate, and a brief look at Lebanon offers some proof. It continues to violate Security Council resolution year after year, but no one ever complains, and no one ever argues that Lebanon must be punished with boycotts or prosecutions for doing so. The proof for this is given by the calls of the government of Lebanon to fully extend and exercise its sole and effective authority to the south, including to the deployment of sufficient numbers of Lebanese armed and security forces to ensure a calm environment throughout the area, which does not happen. On the other side, the Federal Aviation Administration finds those who neglect its regulations. According to the US Department of Transportation's Federal Aviation Administration, it proposes a $27,000 penalty against an airline passenger for allegedly interfering with a flight attendant. This is why we strongly believe that the FAA can regulate STM way better than the UN Security Council. Now, if you remember, I strongly mentioned with existing evidence that the UN Security Council also deals with climate action, which is the biggest problem here on Earth. Hint, it has to do with Earth's life, the most important thing for us humanity, and not only. Yes, you had it right. It's global warming, which is also an action of the climate which is changing. Now, if the UN Security Council, according to the United Nations.org, is also responsible for climate action, why shouldn't we let them do their job? According to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the United Nations have already invested over $80 billion in renewable energy. What is the purpose of letting them regulate STM if they have more important things to do here on Earth? Global warming, global pollution, these are real things that also need to be regulated and taken care of, since our planet is already dying. How can we further launch rockets or create space mission if the Earth is dying? I'm not saying to leave space exploration and STM behind, but let the ones that are specified on climate action, the UN Security Council, do their job, and the ones on space traffic, the FAA, theirs. That's one of the arguments why we strongly believe that the UN Security Council shouldn't definitely regulate STM. Now, for the rebuttal of the affirmative team's arguments. Speaker 2, you talked about globalization. Do you think that 15 countries, which are in the UN Security Council at the moment, out of 195, represent a huge collaboration in order to present globalization, as you said? Isn't universalization what you wanted to refer to, since we're talking about space and universe? One more thing, the UN Security Council is not the only one that can help with space projects that go to space collaboration between countries. Every space project helps with collaboration between countries. You can take the example of the ISS, which is kind of regulated by the FAA. All the countries participate in those projects, or maybe the Lunar Gateway. In each year, did you say that the ISS was damaged by the space debris? How has the UN Security Council demonstrated it's better? What I want to say is that since 2009, as I explained in my argument, there have been little to non-space collisions. One more question. What can the UN Security Council do to clear the low Earth orbit, and how is it better than the FAA? What is the solution to all the problems you just said? Just to have the UN Security Council in charge? How has the UN Security Council demonstrated that it is capable of regulating STM? You haven't mentioned that, but I have mentioned why we think that the FAA is capable of that, since it has already demonstrated. Next, thank you. Mariah will tell you the second case after the affirmative team's response and the cross-ex.
Thank you. We have a 1 minute silent break at this time. Okay. AFF2 of Jiauquan now returns for a 3-minute response to NEC2.
Hello, everyone again. Yes, I will make the rebuttals to what negative 2 mentioned. First of all, you mentioned that United Nations Security Council has something else to do besides space, and they are not optimized for taking care of space traffic management. If they are not, who are the greatest executive power on Earth? Who is then? Well, there is no way we should admit that all the dangerous situations that occur here on Earth are solved by the United Nations Security Council. Nowadays, usually countries take care of problems that happen in their countries without crying in front of the United Nations Security Council. Indeed, but if bigger problems, such as possible wars or future fights between countries, there are other international committees for that. For example, the Center of Strategic and International Institutes. as part of their international consortium of closing civic space, includes countries as Africa, Latin America, Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. There are other committees here on Earth that can take care of what's done on Earth. So that's why we can leave space traffic management to United Nations Security Council. You mentioned that space industry gets better and better from 2009 to the present. Well, how do you explain all the collisions that happen? How do you explain the collision that happened 10 days ago that I just mentioned with the ISS, which is the most important structure made by humans that we already have in space? Then you said that the United Nations Security Council is inefficient. As any other administrative organ, the United Nations Security Council had failures, but still the achievements they gained are a lot more important than the losses accumulated in time. For example, in 1962, when the Cuban Missile Crisis started, the UN was used as a podium by the United States to challenge the Soviet Union's placement of nuclear missile in Cuba. Then you told us that the United Nations Security Council are just 15 countries out of 95, and it's not fair because there are vetoes that exist. And how will this achieve universalization? Well, first and foremost, the countries that are part of the United Nations Security Council are voted by all the 195 countries of the world and change every 2 years. That means there are seats for everyone at the table. Again, from a total of 15 countries, 10 are changed periodically, and in the future, the veto possessors proposed that some 9 more non-permanent countries might be added, so other places for other countries. That gains us universalization. Then, how many of these 195 countries are actively involved in national space programs? Well, the countries that are usually involved in space programs, such as China, Russia, United States, they are already in the United Nations Security Council. And guess what? They also have a veto. Well, the countries that are usually involved in space programs are involved in United Nations Security Council too. So the fact that not all the countries of the world are actively involved in the council is not important, even for the universalization concept. And you also mentioned that there is another company that can take care of STM that already exists on Earth or is better than United Nations Security Council. Well, that is also not true because wait a second.
Okay, please continue.
Sorry.
Well,
if there are already such companies that are supported to take care of space traffic management, why is there so much space debris and why are people still arguing about launching human-made object into space or not? Why are we still debating here today in this specific moment if the UN Security Council should take care of STM? Because all these companies don't do their job properly. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Let's now hear AFF 1 and 2 and NEG 1 and 2 in a 4-minute cross-examination. Jiauquan will begin the cross-ex.
NEG 1 will begin the cross-ex. This is what he said. Excuse me.
Yeah, Team Jiauquan will begin the cross-ex.
Team Jiauquan. Okay, thank you.
Does this happen now or we have 1 minute break? Moderator.
No, it's starting now. The break is after the cross-ex.
Well, first of all, I would like to ask speaker 1 from Team Alcantara, how do your arguments support actually universalization if I'm not too impulsive to you?
Pardon, can you repeat, please?
Yes. Can you tell me a bit about how your arguments support universalization? Because we proved that United Nations Security Council is a great executive or administrative power to do that, because there are 15 countries in it, and the the main countries that launch human-made objects into space are already there. So what would be another solution for universalization from your point of view?
Well, from the arguments my team made, we propose another organization that is called NATO, and Lebanon Well,
Daniela,
I can ask you another question.
let me help her there. So,
Okay, sir.
Daniela, you know we mentioned that Lebanon deviates from UN regulations. What can you say about this, Daniela?
about Lebanon.
Deviating from the UN regulations, because if someone doesn't listen to the UN Security Council, how can it regulate STM? How can it regulate space traffic management? This is something that goes against the whole concept of universalization, since it isn't collaboration anymore.
That's true. It is important to all the countries that space traffic management have to be regulated in an adequate way. So Lebanon deviates from UN regulations. The claim is accurate, and a brief look at Lebanon offers some proof.
It's all right. Thank you. But don't you think that sanctions can be implemented to countries that don't respect what STM mentions? Because it's true, STM cannot implement laws to private companies, but they can give them sanctions if they don't respect future space launches.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question with a question. If you think that, why hasn't Lebanon starting to hear to what the UN Security Council says? And I want speaker one to answer that question, because he said something about STM and UN security regulations in the definitions and stuff part.
Okay.
AFF1, would you like to respond?
If it's not
speaker one.
If it's not here, I can take the floor for him. I would like just to help him by saying that how is relevant if Lebanon can do that if they don't have major already they don't have major launches in space already. And I want to ask you another question. You mentioned that United Nations Security Council is not qualified for taking care of STM. Then who is it?
The Federal Aviation Administration, who has been regulating space since 1958.
All right. And why, if they are already taking care of that, why is there so much debris out there right now and so much traffic, and there are collisions that happen now and then, if they are so good at what they do?
I'm not saying they're the best at what they did. And you will listen to Mariah's argument, my teammate, and she will explain you who the best one is. I'm just saying that UN security isn't better than the FAA because they don't have any proof they are better. And you said something in the response, and I want you to clarify it. What achievements did you say that UN has? Sorry.
There's the 4-minute allotment.
As an example, I mentioned the United 1962. They stopped a major international war from Cuba, in 1962.
Okay, and how is this related to space traffic?
That is not related to space traffic, but
thank you.
There is a cross-examination time is done. We will proceed. Okay. Let's now hear from AF3 from Team Jiauquan for your remaining arguments for 3 minutes. AF3 from Team Jiauquan.
A second, please. 1 second. I'll have to turn on the camera. Is everything working fine?
Yes, you may proceed.
Okay, then. So, hello everyone, my name is Radu Morarash, and today I'm going to be the third speaker of the affirmative team on this resolution. We want to emphasize how dangerous and bad the space debris crisis is. Indeed, it is an issue of universal importance. It is not hidden that space debris are a major problem to humanity. There are over 14,000 fragments of debris in the outer space which came from explosions and collisions which mostly involved big old rockets. As Dr. Darren McKnight, member of the International Academy of Aeronautics on the Space Debris Committee, mentioned the fact that the current radars track the catalog objects that are 10 centimeters in diameter and larger. Unfortunately, objects as small as 5 millimeters, a small 5 millimeters can still kill you. Now, we should ask ourselves, what can we do about this? How will we respond to all the junk that is threatening us fatally? Space traffic management is a solution indeed, but only if it's in good hands. And what are the best hands we could trust regarding this issue? Of course, the United Nations Security Council. For this to happen, Dr. Knight also admits that nations must come together to improve space safety. And while there haven't been any large collisions yet, there have been many close calls that demonstrate the urgent need for the global action. The United Nations Security Council comes together year after year and decides the most important rules and bylaws around the world. They can also make decisions together on some laws for humans and big companies down here. They involve in a future consolidation in the outer space. Our team wants to refresh your memory on some of these dangerous close calls that we quoted earlier from Dr. Knight. On February 10th, 2009, two communication satellites, the active commercial Iridium-33 and the derelict Russian military Cosmos 2251, accidentally collided at a speed of 26,000 miles per hour. There have been almost 12 years from the collision and nothing is improved. Two pieces of space junk, each about the weight of a compact car, had a close encounter on October 15, 2020. So this is the last year, some 620 miles above Earth. If they had collided, let's put the odds at about 5 to 10% before the closest approach. The smash up would have created a cloud of debris that would jeopardize other satellites and spacecrafts for decades. The two objects are a defunct Russian navigation satellite launched in 1989 and a spent Chinese rocket pod from 2009. The combination mass of the two objects is about 6,000 pounds and their relative speed was about 33,000 miles per hour. So nothing too special, according to Leo Labs. These kind of collisions are dangerous and they just create more unwanted debris. It's like trying to administrate an airport without air traffic control. Space wreckage is just create more pollution and useless space traffic. We saw that countries with great power such as Russia or China are involved in these accidents, but they could happen to anyone that launches satellites or any kind of man-made object into space nowadays. The best solution to avoid these collisions is to implement a set of laws and rules that all countries must respect when they launch any kind of object in space. In this way, all space traffic will be controlled and assured before any unpleasant activity occurs in space. The United Nations Security Council is the best executive power that can suggest laws at a worldwide level. To sum up, our team strongly believes that the space traffic management must be administered by the United Nations Security Council. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have a 1 minute silent break now. Net 3 from Team Alcantara, please give your remaining arguments and response to AFF 3 in your 6-minute allotment.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Ciuppala, and today I'm going to be the third speaker of Team Alcantara, and I will bring the second argument why we think that the UN Security Council should not regulate space traffic management. And what alternative approach we propose. According to the first argument brought, we have already shown you why we don't think that the UN Security Council should be responsible for the space traffic management regulation. First of all, I will bring some information regarding our proposal for the STM regulation and why we think it is appropriate, and make a comparison between our idea and the UN Security Council. We propose NATO to regulate space traffic management. According to NATO.int, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it is made out of 30 countries, while the UN Security Council only out of 15. More countries means more and better collaboration, which can be further directed as power. Isn't this what universalization means? Collaboration and respect between multiple countries and going to space as humankind, not as countries. This is one of the reasons why we think that NATO should regulate STM. Another argument is that NATO has already developed a space policy. At the 2018 Brazil summit, NATO leaders recognized that the space is a highly dynamic and rapidly evolving area, which is essential for alliance security, and agreed to develop an overarching NATO space policy. More than that, at the June 2019 Defense Minister meeting, allies adopted NATO's space policy. At the December 2019 leaders meeting in London, allies declared space a fifth operational domain alongside air, land, sea, and cyberspace. In their declarations, NATO's leaders stated, "We have declared space an operational domain for NATO, recognizing its importance in keeping us safe and tackling security challenges while upholding international law." This is why on 22nd of October 2020, a defense minister decided to establish NATO Space Center at Allied Air Command in Ramstein. NATO already has a lot of experience in cybersecurity. Since 2006, NATO has been running operational cyber defense capabilities and has established a good model in deployment and operating of cyber defense technology and capabilities, says Salman Alil, head of cyber defense at NATO. Governments alone would not be able to respond to cyber threats. New and innovative cyber technology are developed by the private sector, sharing information and knowledge that can and should be improved in this area, and NATO is doing its part. This happened in 2011. Things have improved a lot since then, and NATO got better at the cybersecurity concept. Now you can ask, okay, but what is the connection between cybersecurity and space traffic management? Well, as my colleague Daniela defined, STM does not only refer to space missions and launches, but also to the purpose of the mission. There are over 2,500 satellites in the LEO, but besides that, there also exist satellites known as spy satellites, which have malicious purposes. Shouldn't there be regulation against this? Cybersecurity is responsible for interfering with the purpose and what the satellites do. If NATO already has knowledge about cybersecurity, why shouldn't we let them do their job? This is something respectful, not only for the environment, but also for humankind. Also known as universalization, as it could help for collaboration between countries. This is why we think that there is someone better than the UN Security Council who should regulate space traffic management. This is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This was the second argument through which we exemplified why we think it's the best for the UN Security Council not to regulate space traffic management. Now I would like to continue with the rebuttal for the affirmative side. Why do you think that the UN Security Council is the best one to stop the space debris? I have already mentioned that NATO is better. NATO can manage space traffic management better since it already have developed space policy. Why are the UN Security Council in the best hands? Why, if the space traffic management is regulated by the UN Security Council, in the best hands? Did you give me some proof? What proof has the UN Security Council that it's going to do a better job than the FAA? What measurements can they do in order to take into account that there is a bad problem about space debris? You only mentioned some regulations, some laws, but no. You talked about implement rules. Lebanon does not hear from the UN Security Council. According to an article published on the UN.org, Lebanon deviates from the UN security regulation. That claim is accurate, and brief look at Lebanon offers some proof it continues to violate Security Council regulation year after year, but no one complains. How can it regulate space traffic management if a country already violates its regulation? Do you really think that the UN Security Council that cannot take action over the countries that don't respect their laws on Earth do a better job in space? Where you said that the problem of space debris, for example, is very bad, and that you can and that the UN Security Council can regulate better with what proof? Thank you. Next, Andre will tell you the debate summary after the affirmative stems response and the cross-ex.
Thank you. We have a 1 minute silent break at this time. AFF3 of Jiauquan now returns for response 3 minutes to NIC3.
Okay, then. So, first of all, I will start with the things said by the first speaker and the second speaker, sorry, and I will have to check about a couple of things. They said global warming is a major problem that the United Nations Security Council thinks about. And when we mentioned the missile crisis in Cuba from 1962, they said it's not relevant. Then how is climate change relevant? It's not something related to space traffic management. In upper space, you don't have climate. You just have the ozone layer at the worst. Then, let's continue.
I would like to answer that question since it is a cross-ex and we need to talk to each other.
It's not the cross-ex.
The cross-ex will be next. Now it's his time to respond.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. No. Thank you. Again, you asked us, you told us that the United Nations Security Council is not certified for dealing with STM, but again, who is certified? Then, then you talked a lot about Lebanon, but again, I want to ask you, and thinking that you talked about the cross-ex a couple of seconds ago, I will ask you, during the cross-ex, when was Lebanon's last space launch? Then again, moving on to the second speaker's argument, I will say that they talked about NATO. NATO, that is a military organization, started as a military organization. They said that the United Nations Security Council has too many things to do and they cannot deal with STM also. Doesn't NATO have the same thing in common with the United Nations Security Council? Don't they have enough things to do so that they cannot deal with STM? Also, they cannot make policy in other countries, just like the United Nations Security Council. Then you have no Eastern Bloc countries, you don't have Russia, for example, you don't have China, for example. And thinking about that, it means that you don't have that other side of the blockade taken into consideration, thing that will cause a lot of trouble in the space age and future universalization concept. And then you talked a lot about cybersecurity and how NATO improved over time in cybersecurity. I will ask you the same question you asked us a couple of minutes ago. How is cybersecurity related to STM? Can cybersecurity clean debris from the orbit? Will cybersecurity go on orbit and take the small screws that are flying tens of thousands of miles per hour on the orbit? Or it will just stay down and do pretty much what it does at the moment? Again, how can you class a launch as being important or not? How can you say that, okay, this satellite is good, this satellite is not good? how do you think that these things won't be manipulated by other nations' international interest?
Actually, you have had your 3-minute allotment.
Oh, is it over? Okay, then. Oh, okay, and never mind. I had some more things, but if the time is up, it's okay.
Let's now hear AFF 3 and 4 and NEC 3 and 4. In the second 4-minute cross-examination, Alcantara, the negative position, will begin the cross-ex.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to excuse for interfering with the affirmative speaker. I thought that was the cross-ex. Excuse me. I hope I didn't actually offend you or something. Sorry.
It's all right.
And then I want to talk about the global warming you just mentioned. Well, the resolution on this year's debate is that the UN Security Council should regulate STM, and we need to debate that, right? So we talked about the UN Security Council and the global warming, not the STM and global warming. UN Security Council already invested over $80 billion in climate change. I'm just saying that they already have this task. Besides that, I'm going to ask you a question soon, just wait a minute. Besides that, NATO has already developed a space policy. This is what we proposed because it in cybersecurity domain, as you also asked us, well, satellites out there also have malicious purposes. Like, why are banks being hacked?
Can I answer the question? Because I think I will forget it.
No, this is the question. What do you think about the satellites that have malicious purposes? Do you think that global warming shouldn't be taken care of? United Nations Security Council is taking care of it.
I will answer your points on each one at a time. First of all, you said that climate change is related with the United Nations Security Council, but still you said that the nuclear crisis in Cuba from '62 is not related to it, thinking that the United Nations Security Council was the one that solved this problem by being the podium where the Soviet Union and the United States were able to talk. And also you said that...
Excuse me, I want to stop you right there.
A second. You said again that NATO is already involved in space policy.
Yep.
Where are the results? There are over 9,000 and more than 14,000 pieces of space debris already in space. What they did to prevent that from happening?
Do you know, did you hear when we said that the space center was developed in 2021? So this year, they are starting their space policy and they have already started it this year. Besides that, the attack in Cuba is not relevant with space traffic management. That is what I said, not with the UN Security Council. Yes, they did problems on Earth. And that is my point. UN Security Council should remain on problems on Earth, not in space. And you just approved me. Quadera demonstrandum. You just said that United Nations solved a nuclear rocket problem.
Well, I won't say that you're right or not. I will just say the fact that you said NATO just entered this space policy race this year. Then do you want me to remind you that even this year the ISS was struck by a piece of space junk?
So you're
saying that the space debris is a problem, but
yes.
What measurement, what proof do you
the proof that I just told you
that the UN Security Council is better in that? You didn't have any proof. What proof do you have that the UN Security Council is better in solving the problem of space debris?
We have the same proof that you have about the fact that NATO would be better.
No,
we're talking about hypothetical things. NATO didn't do anything until now. The UN Security Council didn't do anything until now because
I have to say,
Mariah,
exactly.
prove me why. Please.
Because the NATO had implement the space policy this year. He couldn't do in 6 months to clear all the space debris, and the UN Security Council had the chance to clear the space. I mean,
again, where is the universalization in NATO? Russia and China, two of the major countries that are in the space race, are not involved in NATO.
There are
How
Uh,
do you think
guys,
this
please
will
wrap
happen?
it up.
There are
You have
over 30 there are over 30 countries, and then if you think like that, in the UN Security Council, 10 of the countries are always switching, while the NATO is always bringing countries. I think there is a
Yes,
better universalization in the NATO than in the UN
but in
Security
the
Council.
70s, Russia would not permit it to join NATO.
guys, the 4 minutes are up. So
Now they are.
Okay, then.
we'll have a silent break of 2 minutes now. Okay, so AF4 from Team Jiauquan will begin the summary in the 4-minute allotment.
Okay. Our final speech will prove to you why our arguments are more relevant than the opposite team. As Stuber said, we are moving away from an era of globalization to an era of universalization. We need the United Nations, specifically the Security Council, to regulate space traffic management, because there are companies and governments that are interested in space, and no one nation can lead the way. There's a big problem, which is climate change. If we keep making this a bigger problem, then we would have to find a solution together as a species. But we will never be able to make it out of Earth if we continue to allow random countries to send objects out in space that in the end will turn into space debris. The UN Security Council should be responsible for space traffic management because this council is the most powerful organization in space between nations. As Radu also said, the best way to avoid collisions is to have a set of rules that should be respected when any country or company launches anything into space. The United Nations Security Council is the best option when it comes to setting laws at a worldwide level. This means that if we have a problem outside too, then the United Nations can make other countries to come together and set a law to stop this problem to getting even bigger, like the space traffic management and all the space debris that is out there in space. We strongly believe that space traffic management must be administered by the United Nations Security Council, and we humbly ask you to again affirm in our favor.
Thank you. Now, NEC 4, the Alcantara summary in the 4-minute allotment.
Oh, hello again, everybody. Now I'm going to conclude the debate through the final statement with the help of my colleagues Daniela and Mariah. I will conclude one more time what arguments my team has brought, and after that, the others' team cases. Then we will compare them and demonstrate to you one more time why we think that STM shouldn't be regulated by the UN Security Council. So, Daniela, could you say something about the definition of the terms and both teams' perspective on the resolution?
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, and the definition of terms by the other team was quite similar to ours, and we think their perspective of the resolution was the correct one, but they say that the UN Security Council can use force and authority if needed. Are you sure this is respectful for the environment or humanity? This is the opposite of universalization.
Thank you. That's a really nice aspect. So now I'll summarize the first broad argument. I've talked about the different reasons we think that the UN Security Council shouldn't definitely regulate STM. First, countries violate UN Security Council regulations and no one says something about it, thus destroying the concept of universalization and the collaboration between countries. The UN Security Council already invested a lot of money, $80 billion, in climate action, being concerned about global warming and pollution. Third, the UN Security Council has little to none aspects in common with STM. Next, Mariah, could you please tell us a few words about your argument?
Yes, I will highlight the main points from my speech in order to demonstrate you that the UN Security Council should not regulate space traffic management. First, NATO is better. Why? Because NATO is made out of more countries than the UN Security Council, meaning that there was more collaboration between countries, more exactly universalization. Second, NATO has already developed a space policy. And third, NATO has experience in cybersecurity, which is very important in order to prevent satellites for malicious purposes.
Thank you, Mariah. Now, okay, so in the end, we think that the affirmative team had very well-worked cases, but we think that it had a lot of mistakes in their arguments, which we have talked about in the cross-sects. The clashes in the fight were presented by, first, you said that the UN Security Council is the best one who can give regulations. How do you explain the situation of Lebanon? We have talked about this in both cross-sects. Then, we think that the affirmative team only talked about space debris, and we have already mentioned why we think that NATO is sustainable better, because it already has developed a space policy and a space center this year. So it has already done more than UN Security Council in order to clear the space debris. Besides that, Speaker 3 hasn't understood why global warming plays an important role to the UN Security Council. So they have just told us we are right, because they talked about the United Nations that stopped the rocket from Cuba. The same thing we said, because we said that UN security shouldn't regulate STM, so in space, but they should regulate things on Earth, as they did with the rocket in Cuba, as they said. So they simply said that we are right. Then they said that about something about a military organization. Well, NATO has already developed a space agency, so they have improved a lot since then. And besides that, the most recent member states that added to NATO are Montenegro on 5 June 2017, and North Macedonia in 2020. Why is Russia not in NATO? Because it wasn't a democratic state at the moment it hasn't entered. Now the expected things for it to enter are the democratic political system, fair treatment of minority populations, and the commitment to resolve conflicts peacefully. Now I would like to also say that NATO is made out of 30 countries, and it offers more collaboration between countries and more universalization, because private space agency can also enter NATO. In the case of the UN Security Council, how can a private space agency enter it if they only stay there for 2 years? In NATO, they stay like there forever. They have a lot of time to prepare their private space agencies. Thank you for this amazing opportunity, and this was Team Alcantara.
Thanks a lot. The judges now adjourn to their break rooms for their deliberation. They may have 8 minutes, but we encourage you to return as soon as you can to the meeting. Mr. Becker. Yeah. Okay, so hello guys, I'm reintroducing myself. I'm Samir. I come from India. So firstly, I'd like to apologize for interrupting you again and again after every 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I'd have loved to hear more, but really couldn't help. So I'll apologize for that. So how are you all? How are you all doing? How was the prep?
Hi, Samir. I'm Andre. And there's no problem for interfering. I'm also really sorry for interfering Radu Morashu from Team Jiauquan because I really thought that was the cross-X. So sorry, that's my fault. I hope I didn't disturb you too much. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. The only thing I wanted to add back there was that the thing about the ISS that you mentioned. The fact that the ISS is something very, I don't know, I have it noted somewhere around the sheets that are around here.
Do you believe me that I forgot what I said?
Well, I believe you because I forgot what I wanted to say.
Exactly.
Yes,
So,
no, it's no problem about
it was
that.
really fun talking with you, Radu, about this subject.
Well, yes, it was very interesting because the most important thing is that it was very intense, I must say.
I kind of
A very
sweat
intense
a lot.
discussion.
I did sweat a lot.
Me either.
To be honest, my point of view, I enjoyed the whole time. So I was not on any side. So I was just sitting and having a bucket of popcorn and enjoying the debate. it was a very nice debate.
Yes,
So
good job to everyone. Know her feelings. I was asking myself when Radu had to present his rebuttal. I saw the look on his face. He was so ready and so ambitious to talk, like to tell why they weren't saying good stuff, And in the middle of his speech, two cameras open and Borko starts talking. Andre here, and that ruined my whole belief that Radu will make a good rebuttal speech. When Borko entered in his rebuttal and was like, "Okay, I want to answer your question here, Radu. Borko, you're not supposed to talk here."
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it was my mistake. It was a mistake. I recognize it.
It's all right, and it was funny because I was expecting Maria to talk as well. You start talking, and then she comes like, Radu, wait a second, people, it's his speech. Don't go there.
Yeah. You're right.
At least with this, I'm right.
Yeah. I agree with you here.
Anyway, this was my first time as a moderator in an actual debate, so I hope things went well. I don't know.
Yeah, they went really well. Good job.
Thank you. This was the first time I've ever done this. I just had a practice debate before and then this.
And how is it?
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every part of it. I have been into these topics for a few years now, like space, such fields. So it was very interesting hearing all the topics.
Have you participated last year in the competition?
No, I've actually not participated in the spUN competition, but the ISDC conference, the space settlement contest, I've participated there. We won last year. So.
Yeah, me too, this year and last year as well.
Yeah. It was knowing the topic and hearing you guys talk about it was very, very nice.
Thanks. Daniela and Narda, are you guys like colleagues or do you know each other?
Yeah, we study at the same school.
Oh. Yeah, and we also studied together when we were in kindergarten. So like I've known Daniela since we were little.
What?
That I've known you since we were little.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know Mariah as well. Yeah, we're also colleagues, me, Tudor, Mariah, and...
No, I don't know them.
Especially
after this game, I don't know anyone.
You don't know me. Understood.
and
Come on, it was fun.
Yeah, it was really nice. Whoever wins, it was a good game. But my humble and honest opinion is that this resolution is a bit unbalanced.
Yeah, me too.
Because I cannot tell you how right you are with the fact that indeed UN Security Council didn't prove anything regarding space,
Exactly.
Like, I don't know how much NATO proved, to be honest, but I know that UN indeed took care of everything there's down here, and maybe has a lot of potential and wants to take care of what's up there. But that would be in the future, and I think that's what we should focus on, because this debate should be more about future, you know.
Yep, you're right.
Well, since you sorry for that. Sincerely, I think that in this resolution, thinking that right now we finish the debate, the judges are not here and so on. I sincerely think that you're right about the sum of arguments. Sincerely, thinking that about the resolution itself, from my point of view, my personal one, not the one that I had to present.
But if
I
you
really
had to
think that
choose, if you had to choose, would you like the
negative,
UN security?
clearly.
No.
No.
You want to be negative?
Yes, sincerely, yes. Because pretty much the United Nations Security Council, again, did a lot of things, but in other spheres, in a lot of situations.
Yes.
You know? But still, it is an interesting resolution.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is.
That's important.
Well, I was quite afraid because I knew that I had that argument about NATO. And 2 days ago, when I found out that I'm playing with you, I was afraid because I knew you know so much about NATO and that you were going to say a lot of things.
Again, the only problem about NATO, again, what I mentioned in the match also, is that in NATO, you don't have Russia, you don't have China. Two of the major players, and again, two pretty much two countries on the other side of the blockade again, you know? We have the ultra-democratic ones like the United States of America, you have the entire European Union, you have Japan also, but then you have China and Russia.
The judges are about to come back pretty soon.
Okay. Do you know why? Because the requirements of NATO are that the country that enter NATO need to be democratic. That's why.
Exactly, and that's the only problem. Thinking that they are not very democratic, and thinking that again they are pretty much major players in the space race. This can cause a couple of problems, you know, because
sorry.
Pardon me, could you put us back into the breakout room, please?
So, Radu, we can continue our discussion.
Oh, yes.
Before they
The chat, yes, I got it. Thank you.
So that's the name.
The names. Okay.
But again, okay. but then but then you want us to follow your rules, you know?
Yeah.
The only thing that the United Nations Security Council has a bit more than NATO is that they have China and Russia included also.
Yeah. That would be a good point. All right.
And you know, in addition to what Radu mentioned, indeed, Russia and China are in UN, but they also have a veto, and so that's a pretty big power, because any law or anything that comes and it's regarded to space, if they say yes, you know, they have a veto, and that says a lot for China and Russia. And them not being part of NATO, it's like a low point.
Yeah. But so let's take the example of India. Like, is India in those permanent 5 countries of the UN?
No, it's not. And we mentioned the fact that, and it's said that it's not. And we mentioned the fact that UN is looking forward to adding 9 more non-permanent members, and that would give them, like, they must also add 3 permanent members, I think. And that might be the chance where, I don't know, Germany has a veto right now. Well,
Germany.
Yeah, countries like Germany or, as you said, India, they might get a veto.
No, like Germany is in ESSA, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and ESSA, I think, is part of that. but Germany itself, it doesn't have a so big space program.
Yeah, I know, you're totally right. But being part of the UN Security Council would be great for them to have a veto, because they don't have too much space implication,
They
but
have a lot of power.
yeah, they have a lot of power down here, you know.
Exactly.
And it was interesting because we expected, let's say, some of your arguments,
but not the NATO thing.
Yeah, we didn't expect naming an organization as big as NATO, let's say, because we also made our research and found that there are other companies that take care of STM right now, and we have something prepared for that, but we didn't expect something as big as NATO, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty ambitious because it can be divided. It can be either a good or a bad idea, and if it's a bad idea, then your whole argument goes down.
Yeah, I know, that's very risky.
But I guess that's how your ideas work. So
yeah, we wanted to risk a little bit because it's either very good or it's either very bad.
But all in all, it was a great match, you know.
Yeah,
and I won't be so sad if I lost, for example.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I would like to win.
I had fun.
Yeah, I also had fun. But it's sad that we are both good teams, and it would be like, it would have been nicer to meet later in the competition.
Yeah.
Because one of us loses clearly today, and we go in the losers bracket, and guess what? We can also
not so last year I played with Radu in one of the matches, so in one of the beginning matches, and I won there. Then he went to the losers bracket, and we met in the Yeah, you're right.
It was a pretty interesting encounter. But again, you know what happened in the first match.
What happened in the first match?
Our teammate that made the final speech that no one could understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think today everyone understood everyone. So
well, yes, that was a very good thing. I sincerely saw that the debates I am seeing during this competition become more and more, let's call them professional.
Yeah, because last year we didn't have those cross-exes.
Exactly. We have the cross-examinations. We have some arguments that are somehow better structured, I can say. Very interesting arguments, sincerely.
Yeah, I don't really see the point of the first for the first speaker, like the definitions and stuff. But yeah.
Well, it is pretty interesting to have that definition part, because you see, when we had the practice debate with Ioana, our definitions were a lot different, you know? And being a lot different, it means that we had some contradictions. They were talking about the future, we were talking about, they were talking about the extreme future, we were talking about the close future, you know? So, sorry.
Okay, so the judges are back. We're excited to hear the results. Please give the teams your feedback and announce the winners. We have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Rishma, would you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
If you want to start, that's good, and then I can jump in.
Sure. Well, I want to thank both teams for participating and all the work you did preparing for this. So it was very interesting to hear the pro and con arguments that each of you made, and it's something to definitely further pursue in the future, because with each passing year, this is going to become a more important question that has to be addressed. So I want to thank you for a very enlightening debate. And Rishma and I, after consulting and considering the strength of the arguments, both for and against, we gave the win to the negative team, Alcantara. We thought you made some very good points about why It should not be the UN Security Council doing space traffic management. And with that, I will turn it over to Rashma to continue.
Yes, so first of all, I just want to say a very good job to both teams. It was very enjoyable to watch you guys debate. Everyone was respectful and very, the presentation styles were great, and I very much enjoyed listening to both sides of the argument. So like Jim said, we came to the decision that the negative presented a better argument in our opinion of why it should not be the UN Security Council. There were definitely strengths from both sides in terms of why it should and shouldn't be. Ultimately, one of the deciding factors for me was the Lebanon argument. So I think that was a very strong push in favor of the negative for me. And at some points that felt that the affirmative could have pushed back a little bit harder on that. You guys did make some excellent points in terms of why maybe there are other reasons why the UN Security Council should, but I think that went a little bit conceded for me. And also in terms of how NATO has already made moves in terms of coming forward. So that was a good alternative solution. There were definitely ways in which I felt it could have been improved, your alternative plan, but I think at the end of the day, I felt that that was also a deciding factor for me.
Do we provide the debaters with an opportunity to ask us judges any questions?
There's no specification in the script, but I think you can. We have 2 more minutes.
If there's any questions that any of you would like to ask, either Rashma or myself, this is your one and only opportunity. Okay.
I don't think I have one right now, but I'll think for the next debate.
Now, I did offer one criticism of you, or as an opportunity for improvement, Andre, and that's the positioning of your camera. Because it's off to the side, you're not speaking directly into your camera.
Yeah, I tried to speak while having the arguments in that direction because I have 2 monitors and the screen of the laptop is smaller, that's why I look there and not there. But
yeah, well, as your team progresses, I would say that little things like this are going to take on added importance because, each team that's participating, you're going to be meeting stronger and stronger teams, and you need to take advantage of every edge that you can. So I definitely work on camera positioning for you. So it does appear that you are speaking directly to the person who is going to be watching the screen. In this case, it's the judges.
Okay, thank you. I'll sure take this into account.
Okay, so we're almost up. I'll move ahead. So, okay. First of all, congratulations to all of you. Great job, everyone. Thank you for participating in the 2021 spUN debate tournament for Room 4. The debates program would not be possible without the students, debaters, coaches, hosts, and the moderators. Many thanks. Students and coaches, please consult the tournament bracket for your next room. Your coaches will provide you with your next debate position as soon as possible. Judges, please remain in the room for reporting purposes. Okay. So goodbye, everyone.
Good job.
Goodbye.
Good. Thank you.
Good job, everyone.
Good job and best of luck for the future.
Good luck, everyone.
So could you please say us one more time what was the final decision? I didn't actually got that.
Oh, we gave the win to the negative team, which was Team Alcantara, which was speaking negatively with respect to the proposition that the UN Security Council should be responsible for space traffic management.
Okay, thank you. Thank you one more time. Good day.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
So long.